Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Robert DeFore. I'm the District Superintendent and Chief Executive Officer of Sullivan BOCES. I'd like to welcome you all to tonight's Parent and Community Stakeholder Forum on the reopening of Sullivan BOCES for students this fall. Natasha, I would ask that you admit those individuals in the waiting room while I start with the preface, please. Folks, as you're coming into this call, you are all muted. I would ask that you leave your devices muted during the course of the presentation so as to limit feedback. This presentation is primarily for the parents, students, and community stakeholders. If you are a faculty or staff member, I would ask that you hold any questions you may have until after the other individuals on the call have had the opportunity to ask their questions. Tonight's presentation is being recorded. There will be a short slide presentation where individuals from the BOCES staff will provide some background information for you. And at the conclusion of that presentation, we will take questions. We will do our best to answer the questions that you have. If we are not able to answer the questions that you have, we will direct you to where you can find an answer, or someone on our staff will get back to you within the next day or two. I am going to ask to keep this orderly, that at the conclusion of the presentation, if you do have a question, you use the chat feature, and that feature can be found at your bottom of your screen. I'm just asking you to please enter your name into the chat feature, and whether you're a parent or a community member or a student, and we will call on you in the order that you appear in the chat feature. If you are a parent and you have a specific question, please refrain from identifying your child's name or the program that they're involved in. I would ask that you just ask your question and ask it fairly generically. We do not want any students' names brought out in the conversations, but we will do our best to provide the answers and the guidance. So with that, again, hold your questions to the conclusion of the presentation. The conclusion of the presentation, we will be using the chat feature to call on you in the order that you enter your name into the chat. So at this time, on the call with me from Sullivan BOCES is Natasha Shea, the Assistant Superintendent for Instructional Programs, Gary Bowers, our Health and Safety Officer, Maria Samur, the Director of Curriculum and Instructional Support Services, and Susan Schmidt, Deputy Superintendent. We also have Megan Becker, who is the Executive Principal of Elementary Programming, on the call with us. So at this time, Natasha, I will ask you please to share your screen with us. So thinking forward, BOCES reopening plan. Next slide, Natasha. So recent developments. On August 7th, the governor of New York basically announced that schools throughout the state could implement their reopening plans if they had been approved by the State Education Department and the New York State Department of Health, as long as the region that they were part of fell within the parameters specified the governor earlier this month for reopening. And the governor's parameters was basically that the infection rate for COVID-19 in the region be below 5%. The Mid-Hudson region has averaged anywhere from 0.6 to 1.3%. So we fall well within the guidelines of the governor's prerequisites. When the governor made this announcement, he had mandated that a series of informational meetings be had over and above the meetings that may have already occurred with each school district creating their plan. So it was requested that a meeting be held for the faculty and staff, and our meeting was held on August 14th, and that a series of parent and community stakeholder meetings be conducted before August 21st. We had a meeting Monday morning on the August 17th at 10 a.m. Tonight's meeting, August 19th, 6 p.m., and we have a final meeting August 21st at 12 noon. I will point out that participation is open to anyone. However, there is, it's going to be the same presentation in each of the sessions. So again, I'm asking you to please hold on questions till after the presentation. Next slide, please. So we held a Zoom meeting with the Sullivan County Public Health Services Department last week, and the Public Health Services met with all of the school district superintendents, administrators, and a number of union representatives from throughout the 8 school districts in the county, and protocols were established for COVID-19 testing and contact tracing. Those protocols were released in written form to all of the school districts in the county on Friday afternoon, and those protocols are available on the homepage of our website. So the Sullivan BOCES Thinking Forward Plan guiding principles were, we used the technology of participation framework. We started our planning process for reopening the 2nd week of May. Health and safety of students and staff is the priority for the long-term success of all of the models presented in our plan. The proposal to begin the school year by transitioning from a trial and acclimation period to a hybrid model to a full in-person instruction. The decision for students to attend face-to-face or remote is a parental decision. Sullivan BOCES is planning on reopening in a hybrid model, and I'll discuss more about that momentarily. It is ultimately the parents' choice. The parents have a choice of a fully remote model, which would use Google Classroom and Google Meets, where the child will do their lessons and their schoolwork over the computer, or they can choose a hybrid model, where their child will spend a couple of days on campus, face-to-face with their teacher, and work the other days remotely from home. Our intent is to open in a hybrid model to test our protocols, to conduct training for our staff, and most importantly, for our students, with the ultimate goal of opening full-time face-to-face at some point in the future, as long as the data and the science hold and it's deemed to be safe to do so. Opening in a hybrid model will give BOCES staff the opportunity to implement our new safety practices and procedures with 50% capacity of the students. Train our students on new procedures, assess social and emotional and academic needs, and adjust procedures if necessary with limited impact on students. The reduced numbers will help us to see what needs to be adjusted with a more manageable population size and allow us time to train and acclimate students and staff to their new normal. Hybrid model considerations, health and safety. Safety protocols and procedures, screening processes, PPE, increased cleaning frequency based on CDC and DOH guidelines. It is our intent to reserve September 2nd, 8th, and 9th to conduct training for the faculty and staff. Student training will be ongoing from their first day back on campus and continue on a daily basis with reminders, miniature lessons, etc., on social distancing, hand washing, wearing face masks, etc. Next slide, please. Cleaning protocols. All New York State Department of Health and CDC cleaning guidance will be followed. Daily cleaning and disinfecting will take place following all regular guidelines. The utilization of door hangers for staff to communicate with custodial staff. Staff training for cleaners and others. There will be no use of disinfectants in the presence of students. No personal cleaning products in the buildings, and custodial staff will be trained on the safe and effective use of disinfectants. Next slide, please. Cleaning protocols. Gary, would you chime in here and go through this? And I believe the slide after, please.
Sure. The cleaning protocols we aim to follow will require frequent cleaning throughout the day of the high-touch surfaces. This will include, but will not be limited to, things like the door handles, the push bars, light switches, handrails, faucet handles, toilet stall door locks, towel dispensers, bathroom doors and fixtures. We plan to try and eliminate as many of the common shared items as possible. And of course, hand sanitizer will be available when hand washing is not possible. You can go, okay.
Right.
There will be a daily student and staff screening process, remote screening tool prior to entry for staff and students, accessible by hyperlink, QR link, or paper copy. Taking students' temperatures upon arrival. With a temperature of greater than 100 degrees Fahrenheit, students will be sent back to district. Parents and districts will be notified. PPE equipment is available if students or staff do not have their own and when needed for intervention.
Okay, hold that slide 1 second, Natasha. Ladies and gentlemen, I impress on you that if your child is not feeling well, if your child exhibits any symptoms that could be related to COVID-19, and a symptomatic list is available on our website, please keep them home and consult with your family physician. If your child arrives on the bus and we take their temperature on arrival and they have a temperature of 100 degrees or greater, they will be sent back home. Please do not send your child to school sick. Thank you, Gary. Next slide, please. So we've developed a remote screening tool for parents, faculty, and staff to utilize. It's designed to be used the morning before you send your child to school. It's available through a link on our website or a QR code. The link in the QR code will be sent home to all parents within the next week. It asks you for your student's name, first and last, the day of the week you're reporting for. So if you're doing it the night before, you're going to put the day after. It asks where your child attends classes at BOCES, whether it's the Reuben College Education Center, Career and Tech, or the White Sulphur Springs School for our elementary programming. Next slide, please. The questionnaire asks the 4 DOH-approved COVID-19 questions. Does your child feel feverish or have any known symptoms to be associated with COVID-19 in the past 14 days, including a temperature of 100 degrees or greater? Has your child had contact with anyone confirmed or suspected to have COVID-19 within the last 14 days? Has your child been under quarantine and not cleared to return to school? Has your child traveled to a state covered by the COVID-19 travel advisory in the last 14 days? And on that question, a hyperlink to the New York State website of currently, of states under a current travel advisory is available. If you answer no to all of these questions, then your child can be sent to school. If you answer yes to any of these questions, we ask you to please keep your child home, call the building principal, and contact your family physician. If you answer no to the questions, you will get the screen on your left, a green screen saying you're permitted to come to school, and then we ask you to hit submit. If you answer yes to any of the questions, you will get the screen on the right, which is a red screen telling you not to send your child to school. Please call the principal, and we also ask that you please hit submit. Next screen, please. Hybrid models for consideration. Flexible scheduling and a design that incorporates a blend of in-person and remote learning. Curriculum instruction, powered standards, work-based learning, lab hours, related services, virtual and in-person. Therapeutic intervention protocols are currently in development. Social emotional learning and multi-tiered support systems, and ongoing professional development. Proposed reopening timeline. As I said earlier, we will have staff training days on September 2nd, 8th, and 9th. September 10th and 11th will be reacclimation and setup days for our faculty and staff. The hybrid schedule for students begins September 14th. Full reopening target date will be determined based on continuous monitoring of local conditions. We will not reopen fully face-to-face unless the science and the data supports that decision-making process. So what you see on the screen in front of you is a representation of what the 8 school districts in Sullivan County are planning to do with their reopening. Eldred will be reopening for students on a hybrid model starting September 28th. They will remain remote until that time, and they will be rotating A weeks and B weeks. Roscoe and Livingston Manor will be reopening on a hybrid model on an AABB remote schedule. Cohort A will be one group of students, cohort B will be another, and then all students will work remotely on Friday. The other school districts, Fallsburg, Liberty, Monticello, Sullivan West, and Tri-Valley, are all planning to open on an AA remote BB schedule. Students in cohort A on Monday, students in cohort B on Thursday, Monday and Tuesday, students in cohort B Thursday and Friday, and all students will be remote on Wednesday. Sullivan BOCES will be following that model so we can service the greatest number of students in the county. All of our districts have committed to send their BOCES special ed students, their alt ed students, and their career and tech students on whatever schedule that Sullivan BOCES adopts. So if your child is in one of those school districts that's operating on a slightly different schedule, please note that those school districts have committed to send their students so they can attend classes if they're enrolled in a BOCES program. Component district enrollment, this gives you an idea of the programs that we operate and the number of students enrolled in those programs. If you look at the bottom of the page, that is the total for each of those columns. By operating on a hybrid schedule, we're able to reduce the number of students on campus by 50% of that figure represented on the bottom of the page. So we had sent out a survey to all of our parents as to whether they would elect to send their child back to school in a hybrid modality or they would opt for completely remote instruction. The survey went out at the beginning of last week and the survey closed out yesterday. So this next couple of slides is a summary of what the survey results show. So in grades K through 12 special education, 60% of the parents have said they would return their child in a hybrid model. 40% said they would not. In our alt ed program, 56% said they would return to a hybrid model. 43% said they would not. In career and technical education, 74% of families said students would come back in a hybrid modality. 26% said they would not. Out of all students, we asked for those, because it's a hybrid schedule, and also a lot of our students are opting to work remotely, whether they had access to a home computer, Chromebook, iPad, or another device to participate in remote learning. 68% said they did, 31% said they did not. We are working with those parents that have said that they do not have access to a device to assure that a device is provided to them. We also asked if your child has access to home, high-speed, reliable internet service to participate in remote learning. 92% of the parents responding said they did. Out of our 600 students, more than half of the parents responded to this survey. So statistically, it's a very good sample of our parents and where we stand. So preparing to reopen in a hybrid model. Things that we're working on now. We're coordinating schedules with our component districts, with their guidance counselors, principals, the CSE departments, and with their transportation department. We're working to keep siblings in the same cohort to maximize parent support and make transportation as efficient as possible. We're assessing the transition between in-person and remote learning. Components of a remote instruction, hybrid or remote model: instruction, delivery of theory, development of practice, synchronous and asynchronous, classroom meetings each morning to take attendance. Unlike this past spring, the State Education Department is requiring us to take attendance in any remote modality that we're operating in. So attendance will count. There will be a quote unquote virtual homeroom period each morning to touch base with all of the students, take attendance, and go over their daily activities if they're operating remotely from home. There will be individual or small group conferencing, independent student work, related services, and office hours established by the teachers. Natasha, do you want to go into the hybrid models, please?
Sure. So as Dr. DeFore said earlier, we're following with most of the other districts, our cohort models. So we'll divide our two student groups, cohort A and cohort B. So while our cohort A is in session, our cohort B will be home 2 days, those Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday is a virtual day for everybody, and on Thursday and Friday, our cohort B students will come in person learning, and our cohort A students will be home doing remote learning. And this is really to support, to practice our safety procedures and to support the learning of all of our students in a safe environment. And this is for all of our programs, for special ed anyway, and alternative ed. So one of the things for CTE that we decided to do a little bit differently, we are keeping the time frames of our AM and PM programs similar to what they have been in the past, Monday through Friday. Our AM sessions will be from 8 to 10:35 and PM from 11:45 to 2:10 PM. We've communicated this with our component school districts, so our students who are coming in person or providing remote instruction can have these times carved out in their schedules. So if they are assigned to a program, these are the times dedicated to learning, whether they're in an AM or PM session. Those times and those cohorts will be provided to you by your home school district, as we've done in the past. And if there's any questions about that, you can certainly contact our principal. And our A and B cohorts will be divided programmatically. So depending on what program your child has chosen, we'll assign those cohorts based on those programs being offered. And our in-person instruction is going to be focused on the labs and hand-on learning, and also our work-based learning requirements for our CTE programs for certifications and other assessment requirements.
So in summary, BOCES is committed to ensuring the health and safety of our students, our faculty, and staff. BOCES will comply with New York State Department of Health and New York State Education Department requirements for reopening schools. Collaboration with all stakeholders will be a key to a successful reopening. Ongoing and consistent communication with all stakeholders will be critical. Continuous monitoring of all operational functions will also be essential. Staffing availability, PPE quantities, and that's personal protective equipment, student attendance, etc. Next slide, Natasha. So I'd ask you to stop sharing your screen at this time, Natasha. Thank you very much. We are now going to take questions. Again, if you have a specific question, please enter your name into the chat. The first name I have, and please, folks, if I mispronounce your name, I apologize in advance. I'm going to do my best on this. Delvis Suarez. Delvis, are you still on the call?
Yes, I am.
And your question, do you want me to just read it, sir?
If you want to, yes, it's fine with me.
Okay, if there is a cure, if not, my child will not be attending school personally. I am willing to continue to do schoolwork over the computer. There is no cure at this time. The latest research I've seen is anticipating anywhere from as early as November to as late winter. But the decision as to whether or not your child returns to school is yours. You're the parent. You make up your mind. We will make arrangements for them to participate in remote instruction. If you do not have a device for your child to participate in remote instruction, we will provide you with a device. You'll be getting a letter in the mail within the next week or so. Did you participate in the survey, sir?
Yes, I did. I'm not actually sure. I did do the survey. I told my daughter to mail it in. I'm not sure if she did mail it in or not.
Okay.
Her husband is a state officer, and I'm a paramedic, so he's in the hospital now. And so I'm not sure if she sent it or not with the survey. I apologize if you haven't got anything from me.
We're collating the data now, and if we have not received a survey from your child, you'll be getting a phone call from the office asking, are you going to send your child back or not? So either way, if you haven't answered the survey, within the next 48 hours, our staff will be reaching out to all of those parents who didn't answer the survey.
I really do appreciate that. My main concern is, you know, the only thing that I feel bad about my son is the communication and the association with other children, which, in his situation, this is actually what he needs a lot of. But I can't take the chance of my son catching. His immune system is always very low. So he's very likely to, catch something. Children will be children, and they do, in my child's situation, we don't want to mention names, like you said, they like, they want to touch people. They don't really know what it means by, staying away. Not every child also likes wearing the mask. Are they going to have to be wearing masks in the class? They probably will,
Yes,
and
masks will be required for all students, faculty, and staff. A FAQ, a frequently asked questions, of over 7 pages of the most commonly asked questions and answers is available on our website, and we will also be sending it home to all parents. But as a precaution, masks will be required. If a child has a medical exemption, that will be taken into account. But if children refuse to wear masks and we can't work with the parent to get them to understand the importance of it, then we may ask the parent to keep that child home for remote instruction for everyone's safety.
that's great. That's really good, because I think that's the best thing, because, children, with issues, they don't like, some don't like being touched, and the other ones don't want to wear a mask. As an adult, I wear my mask because I have to. You have to. Children with the disabilities that our children have don't understand that. And
you're absolutely right about that, sir.
And they're going to take it off, after a certain amount of time. So I definitely want, to continue to have my child. I will, this is hard for us parents too, because, when we went to school, it was different. They taught us differently than the way the teachings are now. So now I'm actually going back to school again, trying to learn the way that the teachers are teaching the children. which it all comes out to the same answers, but you guys are teaching them a different way than back then. So I'm going back to school, and I don't mind,
And, sir, your concerns are well-founded, and we will work with you and your family. Okay, I'm going to move on to another question, sir, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Isabel, is that you in the upper left, Marrero?
Isabel Marrero, yes.
Yes, ma'am, your question.
Yes, no, I was just wondering how the classrooms are going to be somewhat set up with the 6 feet social distancing and how lunch is going to be done.
Okay. Classrooms are going to be set up to maximize the 6-foot social distancing requirements. We actually had a meeting today to discuss what extraneous furniture needed to be removed from classrooms. Some of our classrooms and some of our buildings are much larger, and that will be easier. Some of the classrooms are smaller, so we're going to need to remove extraneous furniture to maximize the social distancing. But our requirements are the wearing of masks and maximum social distancing. As far as lunch is concerned, all of the children are going to be with a cohort. The children will remain in the classroom. The teachers will come to them. They're not going to move around the building. Lunch orders will be taken and lunch will be brought to the rooms, and the children will eat together as a class in their classroom.
What about if somebody needs to go to the bathroom?
Most of our classrooms have bathrooms in them. Those that don't, they will be escorted by an aide individually to the bathroom. We're only allowing one student at a time in the bathroom.
Okay. And what if a student refuses to wear a mask? Will they have to be sent home?
If a student refuses to wear a mask, as I had said earlier, we will work with the parent to try to educate the child in the importance of it. But if it becomes persistent and it's deemed to be a health and safety issue, we will request that the parent keep the child home for remote instruction.
One last question. If a child becomes positive, will the school shut down and go strictly hybrid?
Our intent is to follow the guidance of the Sullivan County Public Health Service, which is to isolate the room that the individual was assigned to and follow all DOH and local health department protocols as with regards to sanitizing the room. Gary, do you want to say anything more to that?
What about the rest of the kids that were in that room?
That will be up to the public health department. The public health department is responsible for notifications and contact tracing. If there is a positive case, the public health department will be making all of those necessary notifications. We are responsible to provide the public health department with the names of those individuals that we believe had come into direct contact with the student.
Okay.
Okay?
Answered. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a good evening.
You too.
Nancy Salvamini. Nancy, where are you? Are you still on the call, Nancy? Nancy, you're muted. Let me see if I can unmute you. Try unmuting yourself, Nancy.
Do it. Okay, am I muted? Okay, I'm here.
You're good. Your question.
What I really want to know is two things. My child's in CTE at BOCES, and they're in Livingston Manor, so the schedules aren't the same. So if they're going to be, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, they're off at Livingston Manor on Friday. Should she drive to school?
So I spoke with Mr. Evans on Monday concerning this very issue, and he is committed to transport Roscoe and Livingston Manor students to their BOCES programs on Friday. That being said,
Does she have,
I'm sorry.
if she wants to drive, can she drive?
I was just going to get to that. If your child has a valid driver's license and meets our criteria, we've worked with our principal of CT and his staff to assure we're as flexible as possible, and we're making provisions for additional parking on some of our grassy areas to accommodate additional students. So the answer to your question,
What is your,
the district will provide transportation, but if your daughter wishes to drive, they need to contact the main office at Career and Tech and speak with either the principal or the assistant principal to find out how you get your parking permit.
Okay, but then they should go to school on Fridays in BOCES then,
Yes, ma'am.
you know, because they're not going to school in Manor on
Yes,
Fridays.
ma'am.
Okay,
Okay.
so what is your criteria that you have to meet to be able to drive?
I do not have that available at this moment. Natasha, can you, Nancy,
There's,
Yes,
Jeff is on the line right now if he wants to.
is Jeff here?
Yeah.
1 second, Nancy, because the principal's on the line. I'm going to see if he can chime in. Jeff, are you on the line?
Yeah, I didn't hear the question that came through mumbled.
Driving
Criteria
permit.
for someone to drive to school.
Yeah, we just assigned them from the main driving permits from the main office.
Can
Oh,
you,
so there's no criteria that we have to meet?
Well, in reference to criteria, you know, your student needs to be well paid, be responsible. They need to be respectful when they're in their classrooms. They obviously need to have valid driver's license, insurance, and a copy of their registration. So when they fill out that form, when your daughter or son fills out that form, just make sure they bring it in with a driver's license, valid registration, and valid insurance. But once school starts, you know, based on grades and other things that they're doing within the classroom, and if they're driving erratically in parking lots and things like that, are all things that where driving can be revoked. But there's no reason to at least get them started with it. And we are looking to provide some of that paperwork to the districts for the driving, so that students can drive on the first day, and then they can bring that paperwork in, so it's already ready to go for us on the first day, so we don't have to keep kids driving like a week later. So.
Okay, so the districts are starting earlier than BOCES then, anyway.
a couple of days, yes, ma'am. But Jeff, could you please reach out to Miss Salvamini and get her the information on the driving permit, please?
Yep, I'll get that stuff together, and I could email it to her.
Okay, ma'am?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Jeff, question to everyone. Jeff, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So you kind of answered the first question. So it would just really be the second question about, you know, these in-person trades like welding and natural resources. How will that go?
They are, the CTE program will also be on a hybrid schedule. They'll be divided into 2 cohorts based on program, and they will either be in Monday or Tuesday, or they will be in Thursday and Friday. The focus is to keep the bookwork on the remote end and use the face-to-face time for the practical, lab work, and contact hours that they need for their respective programs.
Are you able to do all remote with that type of program? Is it an option? Like,
Yes, you can. It's not ideal, but yes, you can. If you opt for remote work, they will do their best to provide those experiences virtually. It's not the same as having the welding torch in your hand on the welding practice machine, but they were able to provide this past spring tutorials, videos, and virtual simulations. It's not ideal, but it will be available. It's your decision as to whether they're remote or they come back in a hybrid form.
and if you choose remote and it's not working, can you then enroll your child in the hybrid?
Yes, and that actually came up during a staff meeting today. All we're asking you to please do is to please call the principal before you send your child, because once we establish our cohorts, we need to make sure those cohorts are balanced. So if your child is working from home, and it's just not working, just don't put them on the bus the following morning, because we're going to turn around and send them right back home until we determine what cohort they belong to. So to do it in an orderly manner, the answer to your question is yes, but please call the principal first so that we can assign them to a cohort to work to balance the cohorts out.
Okay, and one last question. When will you know like what cohort goes which days?
That information will be coming out to our parents and our school districts midweek next week.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Bob, I want to touch base on that driving again. I just want to let parents know that their son or daughters not to drive other students to BOCES. So they shouldn't be riding in other cars and transporting other students from other districts and things like that. It's a huge liability. So if your son or daughter decides to drive, just make sure that they drive themselves, because that's the only person that we have permission and signed off on for them to be in a vehicle. So.
Okay, Jeff, thank you. Can you also, Jeff, work with Donna to put an information packet up on the website?
Sure.
Thank you. Folks, does anyone have any other questions that I may not have answered? Will there be, yes, ma'am. Christina, there will be mask breaks. That'll be determined by the principal and the classroom teacher. And that'll be worked in as part of the day. Okay? Folks, any other questions? If you have not had your question answered, or if we end this call and a question comes up, you can contact any one of the principals. You can email me or call me directly, and we will get you your answer. The FAQ is being updated continually, and we will be constantly adding more and more information to the FAQ. Jeff came in, we answered this question earlier. Yes, masks are required in the classrooms by students, faculty, and staff.
May
Folks,
I
any
ask
other
a
questions?
question? I'm not online.
I'm sorry?
May I ask a question? I can't see on the computer. I couldn't get in, so I had to call on the telephone.
Go
May
ahead.
I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Actually, I have two. One, am I able to drop my child off to the program whatever time it starts?
Yes, you may.
Okay. Is there any particular place, or I've never driven them?
What you will need to do, you'll get a letter next week that will come from your specific program principal, and that information will be provided, the start time, the end time, and the location.
Okay. And second question is, it's the culinary program. Is it set up differently? Would there be the same amount of students in cooking and like the stations and whatnot?
We're going to need to work on the assigning of the students to those programs. We're trying to do our best now to balance it out. We were on a call on Monday with the two instructors trying to address those specific concerns. It will look different. There will not be as many kids as there normally would be.
Okay. All right.
Okay?
Fair. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
welcome.
Amy Leroy to everyone. Amy, I don't know what your previous comment.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I accidentally sent my comment privately to Jeffrey again, but I had noticed on the facts and answers, or whatever you had called it, that there was a comment that if a vaccine comes out and a child is not vaccinated, they would not be able to attend school. Perhaps I misread that, but I was wondering if you could speak to that, please.
Our understanding is it will become one of the required vaccinations that a child must have to attend school, so therefore it would fall under those laws.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, but that, ma'am, is determined by the Department of Health, the State Education Department. So that's all contingent on an official decision being made. But my best available knowledge is it will be considered a mandatory vaccine.
Okay. Unlike the flu is not mandatory, so
exactly, but all of the people I deal with SED had indicated when the vaccine is developed, it will become one of the mandatory vaccines. Sure. Okay, and that's what I know at this moment.
No, I know this is all very premature. Okay. I mean, we were not at that spot yet, but I saw that, and I just wanted to know if you could speak to it. But thank you very much.
You're very welcome, ma'am. Anybody else have any other questions? So folks, this session has been recorded. It will be available within 48 hours on our website if you want to go back to it. One more question did come up. Will books be going from school to home, or stay at school, or one set for each? That decision is in the process of being made. We're looking at what the options are. What about New Vision's program? Is it going to be hybrid or on-site? New Vision's will be a hybrid program to start with. New Vision's will not be at Catskill Regional Medical Center, at least for the fall. The medical center needs the space that we lease from them for instructional space in case they have to re-ramp up in a response to an additional outbreak of COVID-19. New visions for the fall will be based at SUNY Sullivan. We have taken additional classroom space at SUNY Sullivan to accommodate all of our Health Doc 1, Health Doc 2, Allied Health, and New Visions program. Does anybody have any other questions? Okay, folks, hearing or seeing none. This is a very fluid situation. This information is valid as of this talk. As things develop, we will share them with you, and we'll share them with all of our community partners. Please work with us. We're trying to keep everyone, students, faculty, and staff, first and foremost, safe, and we're trying to do what's best for our students. Thank you very much for your time, and have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Natasha, thank you.